sure you all know that the United States stands as one of the World Health Organization's top donors, contributing roughly $700 million in 2020 and 2021, with over 65% being voluntary above our membership dues. And in December 2021, the Biden administration announced another $280 million contribution aimed at ending COVID-19, bolstering health systems, and providing urgent relief. And as taxpayers, we want to make sure that our money is being used properly, that there are metrics in place, and that, as you say, we have a seat at the table. However, I'm really concerned about what we've seen from the WHO throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. I mean, they denied human-to-human spread of COVID-19 based solely on CCP propaganda. It was not until January of 23rd of 2020 the WHO finally recognized that human-to-human spread was occurring. It was a month after the first warnings. The WHO delayed naming COVID-19 a public health emergency. It delayed serious measures like travel restrictions because the CCP told them the spread was under control. The WHO continued to praise the Communist Chinese Party, failed efforts to combat the pandemic despite a globally recognized cover-up. And then when we pushed for an investigation into the origins, the CCP was given full veto power over inclusion of American scientists, right? The Communist Chinese vetoed the 3 Americans put forward by our government to be in that investigative body, and the CCP was given full power to edit and alter the final reports. And so I'm compelled to ask the question, I mean, how do you justify continuing U.S. support for the WHO given their debatable handling of COVID-19 investigations and apparent compliance with misleading Communist Chinese narratives? And I agree, the World Health Organization has played a tremendous role in the history. The United States was one of the founders. And when it came to the AIDS epidemic in particular and other, they have been, but it seems to me that they're now corrupted by the Communist Chinese. So what do we do, and why should we continue to fund them if they continue to take their, if they continue to do what the Chinese tell them to do?
Well, thank you, Madam Congresswoman, for that question. Again, we really do appreciate being able to reflect on some of these very important lessons learned. With regards to our support of WHO, the leadership is very clear that we expect reforms with regards to the way they do business, and the U.S. has worked with WHO over time, particularly in the past several years, towards those types of reforms. You had Assistant Administrator Gawande mention the Standing Committee on Health Emergency Preparedness and Response. That committee was established by the Executive Board, on which we hold a seat, and the U.S. was supportive for the reasons that you described, particularly because we felt the board needed to have better oversight over WHO's response in emergencies and direct them accordingly.
Yeah, the issue is that even when we have a seat at the table, it doesn't mean that we're seeing actual reforms. And we have this problem with other international organizations as well. It's not just the World Health Organization. The fact that we have some of the most egregious violators of human rights sitting on the UN Human Rights Council, and that they're allowed to get away with it. I mean, it's a much larger issue of these global international organizations that have been infiltrated by these nefarious bad actors. Iran chairing the UN Human Rights Council. I mean, that's disgraceful, okay? So this is just another example. I mean, the way that here we're seeing Communist China having this much influence in the World Health Organization. So it's a much larger question. I guess my question to all of you is, what can we do as the United States other than send more American tax dollars to these organizations? What else can we do to truly reform them? Because what I hear from the administration is, oh, we've got to elect better actors to the committee. That's why we went back to the UN Human Rights Council after President Trump removed us, was because this administration felt, well, if we were at a seat at the table, we can get more better nations, democracies, freedom-loving people to be represented on those councils, but it has not happened. So what really can we do to change it?
Thank you. Let me provide additional information on what we are practically doing. We, the United States, are part of the member states task force on strengthening WHO's budget, programmatic, and financial and governance. And as you've heard from us, I mean, there were about 96 actions that were required. And thanks to our leadership, our presence at the table, about 67 of those have been implemented. And we have about 25 or more that by the end of 2025 must be implemented. We are actively putting pressure where we believe it's producing the return on investment in terms of the actions that were required of WHO and what they are actually implementing.
Well, I appreciate that. It's yet to be seen whether any of this will really amount to anything other than nice words. But again, I've run out of time, so I will yield back. But I think we just got to stop throwing good money after bad until we see some changes at these international institutions.